One of the things that I'm working on at the moment is to not overcomplicate my art and lead it down a path to the dreaded hole of overworking, where some of my pieces do end up, unfortunately. As someone who has always found drawing easy and enjoyable, I often fall into a trap of thinking that this should be harder than it is, and worrying a lot when I haven't struggled to make something, especially considering the constant buzz of people going, art is so hard. I begin to feel guilty because it's not as hard for me, and then my brain makes up its own barriers, and I end up stuck in a hole somewhere drawing nothing at all and falling behind on everything I'm supposed to be making. Things that I could make quite easily, but there's a big mental barrier getting in the way of drawing it because I tell myself it should be harder than it is, and it's not really that hard. So at the moment I'm challenging myself to draw simple things and to avoid adding too much detail or just letting the shape and the colour do the talking. To make it easier on myself, I'm also falling back into some old character designs and things that I enjoy, which circles around to the topic of this video, which is drawings for Macbeth. I have loved Macbeth since I studied it in high school, which is unusual to love something from high school, right? As it's something I've dipped in and out of for years, I have a fairly established visual style for the various parts of Macbeth, Lady Macbeth especially being a favourite. So today I'm just drawing two little characters of Lady Macbeth and Macbeth himself. I like to keep my Shakespeare vaguely historical, but also it's a bit of a fantasy, so within that I can go wherever I like. One of my favourite design arcs that I have played with through the years is that with Lady Macbeth at the beginning of the story, that she will have her hair all done up under a medieval style veil, all neat and proper, and a proper lady. And through the play her hairstyles begin to get more and more loose, less of the veil, and eventually completely down and falling everywhere when she goes completely mad at the end of the story. This particular design is the two of them from earlier on in the story. I've pulled from a fair few actual medieval clothing styles, although they're probably from different periods of the medieval era and probably shouldn't be seen beside one another, but so what. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm currently exploring not overworking my pieces, so I wanted to stick to two fairly strong silhouettes for them. Lady Macbeth has the very triangular flowing out at the bottom because she's wearing a houppelande, which is an overdress made of a lot of material. At the time it was designed and worn to show off how wealthy you were, because you could afford to drape yourself in so much material and fur that there was extra folds and it was just all bunched in at the middle rather than cut down, just to show off how wealthy and powerful you were. And if there's nothing else in this story, that's what Lady Macbeth wants to do. And Macbeth himself, to complement her, he has the larger shoulders and the large sleeves, just like hers, but I added a surcoat, which has a bit more of the fighting garment, which suits his character as a man of military prowess, and of course with the addition of the sword. So I've had an established colour palette for the Macbeths for many years. The blue is a nod to the Scottish nature of the play, from the flag of St Andrews, which is blue with a white cross on it, and the red for the strength and violence, which, because there are quite a few murders and things that happen in the play. I used the red especially for her hair, which is another Scottish nod for the red hair, although I doubt people have this kind of bold red hair naturally. And especially as these are a lord and a lady who become king and queen, they can't really be wearing muted colours. They are bold and ambitious as a unit together, so they're wearing the matching colours, the matching styles, and kind of complementary shapes. As always, I'm using the Polygon Select and Flood Fill tools to fill my areas, not worrying too much about my pointy edges that have just become part of my workflow now. And as part of my goal of simplicity, I'm trying not to overshade the pieces, just use a couple of sort of cell type shading instead of lots and lots of layers, but also not leave too much to be added back in with the lines, so I'm trying to define things with the shapes now instead of going back in with line work later. I'm not working with a limited palette per se, but I'm also asking myself, do I need to make a new shade or colour, or can I just nick one from elsewhere in the picture before I make one? This can help to stop me from overworking or overshading the piece, because sometimes I get into this habit of just adding an extra colour here or adding an extra muted tone there, just because I feel that there should be shading there, when sometimes it's fine to leave it blank. To return to something that I said at the beginning about how drawing has always been easy for me, I don't mean to sound arrogant when I say that, because what I mean is not that it's always been easy to make good artwork, but that just sitting down to draw the things that I wanted to draw and having what I wanted to show come out of the pen has always been easy. And to identify where I need to improve and what I need to do to get there has also been easy. I don't just sit there and look at it and go, oh, it's bad. I could see that, oh, the left shoulder needs some work, or things like that. You know, the visual perception of what I was drawing, I think, has been something that I have found easier than maybe other people. I've never dwelled on my mistakes either. I just saw it as an opportunity to make another drawing, or to do the same design again, fixing what I need to fix. If I had to do the same design 3 or 4 or 5 times, each time changing something slightly, that never bothered me. That was exciting. As we all know, what makes us good at a thing is not just some magical innate ability, but our repetition. For many years, surrounding schoolwork and things, I've drawn for at least 3 or 4 hours a day, sometimes in class, and sometimes it's even been up to 8 or 9 hours a day. This adds up, and sometimes I forget that what can make something feel easy to draw is because I've put in the groundwork. And for people viewing others' art, it's easy to forget too that the skill displayed in this one drawing that you're looking at is the work of many, many years. I've been drawing full-time as such since I was 16, through school or later unemployment, and even after that freelancing. That's 15 years of my life, and when I get into a bit of a mental guilt trip, I have to remind myself of that this artwork isn't hard because I did that work already. And to not delve too far into a personal pep talk, I think there's a lot of information out there to rally artists to just keep going, you'll improve and you'll get there, but less so about blocking out the constant negative buzz. And you sit on Twitter sometimes, there's just a lot of people going, I can't do this, this is hard, I'm terrible at artwork, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes I'm just sitting there thinking, but I'm not terrible and I'm doing all right. Should I be terrible? Should I be struggling? And the answer is no, I'm doing it okay. And I've already done the work. It's okay that it's not a struggle. I'm not an imposter. You know, it's fine. And yeah, there's some things that I find hard, but they're not insurmountable. They're things that I can tackle and try and look up tutorials or look at how other artists have done them and try it. And the more that I work on them, the easier they get. Shock horror. And of course, then I freak out again because it's easy now. And I wish my brain would just make up its mind. So I didn't mean to go on a bit of a side quest pep talk there, but I was just expressing some things that I've been feeling about my own work recently, to hopefully work through them. And I mean, isn't that what kind of vloggy art videos are for, right? I hope you enjoyed the final piece. If you have any thoughts about what art is like for you, easy or hard, feel free to comment below. And as always, if you have any questions about any parts of my artwork, feel free to ask. Until next time, bye.